The night was quiet, yet something in the air felt unusual. It was not the kind of silence that brought peace. It was heavier, almost as if the world itself was holding its breath. Far away, the sound of a single clock tick echoed through the old house. Each second seemed louder, sharper, and it pulled the listener deeper into the uneasy stillness. In that house, a boy named Arjun sat near the window. His eyes were fixed on the street outside, but the street had nothing to show. No cars passed by, no voices broke the silence, and not even a stray dog moved in the shadows. Yet he kept watching, as if waiting for something. He did not know what it was, but his heart told him that something was coming. Arjun was not usually the kind of boy who believed in strange feelings or secret signs. He was practical, simple, and often laughed at the wild stories his friends told about ghosts, curses, or mysterious happenings. But tonight his mind was restless. The darkness outside looked different, thicker, and his own reflection in the glass seemed like a stranger staring back at him. Suddenly, a gust of wind shook the old window frame. The curtains danced like pale figures, and Arjun's heart jumped. He quickly turned away, telling himself it was nothing, just the wind. But deep inside, he could not shake off the thought that this night was not ordinary. Downstairs, the old clock struck midnight. The sound spread through every corner of the house, and with each strike, the silence grew heavier. Arjun could feel the weight of the night pressing on his shoulders. He wanted to sleep, but sleep would not come. Something was holding him awake, keeping his senses sharp. He leaned back in his chair and tried to distract himself. His grandmother always said that strange nights test the courage of young hearts. "Darkness is not your enemy," she would often whisper, "but what hides inside it is what you must be careful of." At the time, he had smiled at her words, thinking they were nothing more than an old woman's imagination, but now those words echoed in his mind like a warning. Outside, the streetlights flickered. For a moment, the entire lane drowned in blackness. When the light came back, Arjun thought he saw something move near the end of the road. His body froze, and his breath caught in his throat. Was it just his tired eyes playing tricks on him? Or was there really a shadow moving against the stillness? He leaned closer to the window, his forehead almost touching the glass. The road was empty again, but he could not forget what he saw. A tall, thin shape, almost human, yet not quite. It had passed too quickly, but its presence lingered in his mind. Fear crept into his chest, but curiosity pulled him forward. That was the strange thing about nights like this. Fear and curiosity walked hand in hand. He told himself not to imagine things. Shadows could look like anything, and his mind was tired. Yet a part of him knew that something had entered the night, and it was no trick of light. The house creaked softly, as if answering his thoughts. Old wood often made sounds, but tonight each creak felt alive. Arjun stood up, his feet trembling slightly against the wooden floor. He told himself he would just check the door, make sure it was locked, and then try to sleep. But when he reached the stairs, the sound of a faint knock echoed from below. It was not loud, not hurried. Just a single soft knock, like someone testing the door. Arjun froze on the staircase. His heart began to beat faster. His palms grew damp, and every nerve in his body screamed to run back to his room. But his feet would not move. Something stronger than fear kept him still. The knock came again. This time it was clearer. Slow, careful, as if whoever stood outside was patient. Arjun swallowed hard. He thought about waking his parents, but the thought vanished quickly. He felt somehow that this was meant for him, that the night had chosen him, not anyone else in the house. Taking a deep breath, he stepped down the stairs, each creak of the wood sounding like thunder in the silence. His eyes never left the front door where the sound had come from. The air around him felt heavier with each step, as though the house itself was holding its breath with him. When he finally reached the door, he paused. His hand hovered over the handle, but he did not touch it. Instead, he pressed his ear against the wood. On the other side, there was nothing. No sound of footsteps, no whisper, not even breathing. Only silence. Arjun closed his eyes for a second. Maybe it was just his imagination. Maybe the night had played tricks on him, like it often did in stories. But as he turned away, ready to climb the stairs back to his room, the knock came again, this time louder, firmer, demanding an answer. And that was the moment Arjun realized the night was not empty. Something had arrived, something that wanted to be let in. The stranger at the door, The door stood tall and silent before him, but the air around it seemed alive. Arjun could feel something pulsing on the other side, like an invisible heartbeat waiting to be answered. His fingers trembled above the lock, yet he could not step back. It was as if the night itself had trapped him in that moment. The knock came again, 3 times. Slow, measured. Each strike of wood against wood echoed inside his chest. Arjun whispered to himself, "It's nothing. Maybe someone lost their way." But even as he said it, he knew the lie. Who would come at this hour, on a street so empty when the whole town slept? He looked over his shoulder. The staircase stretched into darkness, and the soft glow from his room upstairs looked so far away. If he ran, maybe he could hide under his blanket and pretend nothing had happened. But a stronger voice inside him said, "If you run now, it will follow you. If you ignore it, it will not leave." Gathering courage he did not know he had, Arjun unlatched the lock. The sound of metal against metal echoed like a scream in the silence. He pulled the door open, just a crack. What he saw made his blood run cold. A figure stood under the flickering streetlight. It was tall, too tall, its shadow stretching unnaturally across the ground. Its face was hidden under a hood, but its eyes glowed faintly. 2 small lights in the darkness. They were not the eyes of a man. They were steady, unblinking, watching him with a hunger that froze his breath. Arjun tried to speak, but his voice failed him. His throat felt dry, as if the night had stolen all words from him. The figure leaned closer, though its body did not move. Its voice entered not through ears, but directly into his mind. "Let me in." The words were soft, almost gentle, yet they struck like thunder in his skull. He stumbled back, clutching the edge of the door. Who are you?" he managed to whisper. The figure tilted its head as though amused. "I am the one who answers when the silence calls. I am the shadow that waits when the world sleeps." "Open the door, Arjun." Hearing his own name from those unnatural lips made his skin crawl. He had not told it. No one outside should know it. And yet the figure spoke as if it had always known him. Arjun's instinct screamed to slam the door shut. But his hands felt weak. His body obeyed a strange pull, as though invisible threads tied him to the shadow outside. He forced himself to move, but the figure raised its hand. Long, pale fingers stretching unnaturally, and the air itself seemed to press him still. "You have seen me now," the voice continued, low and calm, "and once seen, I cannot be forgotten. To close the door is to invite me inside your dreams. To open it is to invite me into your world. Choose, boy." Arjun's chest tightened. This was no ordinary night. This was no ordinary stranger. Something ancient, something powerful had chosen his doorstep. He thought of his grandmother's words. "Darkness is not your enemy, but what hides inside it." His hand shook violently as he pushed the door shut with all his strength. The wood slammed and the lock clicked back in place. He pressed his back against the door, gasping for air. For a moment, silence. Then, the knock came again. But this time it did not come from outside. It came from inside the house. Arjun's scream caught in his throat. He spun around, staring into the empty hallway. Every corner looked darker, every shadow deeper. He could feel it. Whatever the figure was, it was no longer outside. It was already in. The air grew colder. His breath fogged as though winter had entered the house. From the far end of the hall, near the kitchen, he heard soft footsteps, slow, deliberate. The sound of bare feet dragging across the floor. "Arjun," the voice whispered again, though no lips moved. It came from everywhere, the walls, the ceiling, the floor. He stumbled back, rushing up the stairs 2 steps at a time. His legs moved faster than his thoughts. Reaching his room, he slammed the door shut, locked it, and pressed the table against it for good measure. But the whisper followed him. "Do you think wood will save you? Do you think walls will keep me away? You opened the door, boy. You opened the way." Arjun grabbed his phone with shaking hands, trying to call his parents, but the screen flickered and died. The battery had been full moments ago. Now the screen stayed black, reflecting only his own terrified face. The room grew darker, though the lamp was still on. The shadows lengthened, crawling across the floor, climbing the walls like living things. He tried to scream, but his voice was swallowed by the silence. From the corner of the room, the figure appeared, not walking, not entering, simply emerging as if the shadows had shaped themselves into its form, its glowing eyes fixed on him. "You chose," it said. Arjun fell back against his bed, his mind screaming, his body frozen. The figure leaned closer, its face still hidden under the hood, but its presence filled the entire room. The whisper in the dark darkness swallowed everything. Not the kind of darkness that came with night, but a deeper one. Thicker, alive, and heavy on the skin. Arjun could not even see his own hands. Yet he knew he was not alone. The glowing eyes still floated somewhere in that black ocean, steady and unblinking. "Why me?" Arjun's voice cracked, trembling. "What do you want from me?" The figure's voice answered, soft yet endless, like a whisper carried by 1,000 mouths. "You were awake when the silence called. Few can hear it. Fewer answer, but you listened." Arjun's body shook. "I didn't call you. I didn't." A long pause. Then came a sound, low and strange, a laugh, though it was not human. It was sharp, broken like glass grinding against stone. "You think words are the only way to call? No, fear calls. Curiosity calls. Loneliness calls. And tonight, you called me with all three." The words cut deep. Arjun remembered sitting at the window, restless, staring into the empty street. Had he truly invited this thing with nothing more than his restless thoughts? The figure moved closer. He could feel it, though its steps made no sound. The air thickened, pressing against his chest, making each breath harder than the last. "You are not the first," the voice whispered, "and you will not be the last. But you are the one who opened the way tonight. Do you want to know what happens to those who open it?" Arjun wanted to scream no, but his throat locked. His silence was taken as permission. The room changed. The darkness around him rippled like water, and then it was no longer his room. The bed, the desk, the walls, they all melted away. He stood in a hallway, endless and cold, lined with doors. Each door looked the same, tall, wooden, and silent. From behind each door, faint sounds leaked out. Some were whispers, some were cries, some were desperate knocks. The sound of human voices trapped in a place they could not leave. Arjun's chest tightened. What is this place?" The figure appeared beside him, taller here than before, its shadow brushing the ceiling. Its hood shifted, and for the first time Arjun saw the edge of its face. Skin pale as ash, lips thin and colorless, but no nose, no ears, no features that made it human. Only those glowing eyes fixed on him. "This," the figure said, "is the hall of the called. Every door holds a soul who once opened to me. They knocked, or they answered, or they listened too long. They thought they were safe, but silence never leaves those who invite it in." Arjun's stomach churned. He backed away from the doors, but the hallway stretched endlessly in every direction. No escape. From his left, one door rattled. The sound grew louder, harder, until cracks appeared in the wood. A hand shot out through the splintered gap, pale, shaking, desperate. A voice followed, ragged and broken. "Help me! Please, don't let it take me!" Arjun staggered back, horror filling his veins. The figure did not move. It only watched him, its expression unreadable. "Do you want to help them?" it asked softly. "Then take their place. Open your own door. Trade your freedom for theirs." Arjun's lips trembled. "No, I can't." The voice from behind the door screamed again, louder, full of pain. "Don't leave me here, please!" The sound cut through his chest like knives. He wanted to close his ears, but the cries pushed into his skull. The figure leaned closer, its whisper sharp against his ear. "This is what silence does, boy. It feeds, it waits, it keeps what it takes. And it will keep you too, unless—" Arjun's eyes snapped to the figure. "Unless what?" For the first time, the figure paused. Its glowing eyes dimmed slightly, as if considering something. "There is one path," it finally said. "Not escape, never escape, but a trade." Arjun's pulse hammered in his veins. "A trade?" The figure nodded slowly. "Silence does not vanish. It only moves. If you give it another, if you bring another to hear the knock, then it will leave you. For now." The words sank like poison in Arjun's chest. He understood. To survive, he would have to doom someone else. His breath came fast and uneven. "No, I can't do that." "I won't." The figure tilted its head. "Then you will stay here in the hall of the called. Your voice will join theirs. You will knock and knock, but no one will answer. Eternity is long, boy. Eternity in silence is longer." The hallway trembled. The doors rattled in unison. 1,000 voices cried, screamed, begged all at once, filling his head with unbearable noise. He dropped to his knees, pressing his hands against his ears, but the voices pierced straight through. The figure stood tall above him, patient, waiting. "Choose, Arjun. Give silence another, or become silence yourself." Arjun's mind spun. Faces flashed before him, his parents, his friends, his grandmother. Could he really hand one of them to this horror? Could he trade a life for his own? But then he saw the doors again, saw the desperate hand reaching out, saw the endless suffering that would be his if he refused. The figure extended its pale hand toward him. Decide. The night does not wait forever. Arjun's hand shook. Sweat dripped down his temple. His throat was dry as sand. The screams around him grew louder, crashing like waves, and then he raised his eyes and whispered, "I choose." The darkness swallowed his words. The choice that echoes. The darkness pulsed around him, swallowing his whisper like the ocean swallows a stone. The figure's glowing eyes narrowed as though it had heard, but it wanted him to say it again. "Speak, Arjun," the voice pressed, smooth and endless. "The silence waits for your choice." Arjun's lips trembled. He wanted to scream his answer, but his throat was locked tight. Instead, his mind spun, torn between fear and guilt. If he gave it someone else, he could be free, but that freedom would carry blood. If he refused, he would become one of the trapped voices behind the endless doors. The figure stepped closer. Its pale hand hovered in front of him, as if ready to seal the bargain. The air thickened, heavy as stone. Then, Arjun heard something new. Amid the cries of the lost, a softer sound rose. A child's voice, weak but clear. "Don't choose, Arjun, don't give it anyone." His head jerked toward the sound. One door, far down the endless hallway, glowed faintly. Through the cracks in the wood, small fingers reached out, trembling. The figure's head snapped in the same direction, its eyes flaring brighter. For the first time, its voice sharpened with anger. "Do not listen. That one lies." Arjun's chest tightened. Who is that?" The child's voice came again, soft, desperate. "I was like you. I was given as a trade. Don't believe what it says. It never lets you go." Arjun's blood ran cold. His heart pounded as the figure turned back to him, its pale lips curling into something close to a smile. "Do not be fooled. The child has already chosen its place. It only wishes to drag you with it. You have a chance it never had. Take it." The voices of the trapped screamed louder, filling his ears. The hallway shook, doors rattling violently as though they would burst open. Arjun pressed his hands over his ears, but it did nothing. The noise was inside him, tearing his thoughts apart. The figure leaned closer. Its hood fell slightly, revealing more of its face. Skin stretched too tight over bone. Hollow cheeks, no mouth when it wasn't speaking, as if the words came from the silence itself. Its glowing eyes bored into him. "Choose now, boy, or silence will choose for you." Arjun's mind fractured. One part begged to survive at any cost. Another part clung to the child's warning. What if it was true? What if no one ever truly escaped? His knees buckled. He fell to the floor, hands trembling, his heart hammering like a drum of war. And then, something strange happened. The cries stopped. All at once, the 1,000 voices behind the doors fell silent. The hallway froze. The air stilled. Even the figure stiffened, its glowing eyes darting around, unsettled. A whisper rose from the silence, but it was not the figure's voice. It was older, deeper, heavier than anything Arjun had ever heard. It filled the air like thunder, though it spoke only 2 words. "He is not ready." The figure recoiled, its body trembling. For the first time, Arjun saw something almost human in it. Fear. "No," the figure hissed, its voice breaking. "He opened the way. He belongs to me." The whisper came again, stronger, shaking the hallway walls. "Not yet." The figure's pale skin cracked, lines splitting across its face like broken glass. It staggered back, clutching its head, its glowing eyes flickering. The air around Arjun shifted, and suddenly the darkness collapsed like shattered glass. He was back in his room. The lamp glowed faintly on his desk. His bed stood behind him. His phone lay silent where he had dropped it. The house was quiet, too quiet. Arjun gasped, his chest heaving. Was it over? Had it all been a dream? But then he heard it, a faint knock, not from the door downstairs, not from the walls of his house. This knock came from his own mirror, slow, careful, the sound of knuckles tapping on glass. Arjun turned, his breath catching in his throat. His reflection stared back at him, but it was not the same. The boy in the glass looked pale, hollow-eyed, and behind him stood the figure, its glowing eyes fixed on him. The knock came again, this time from inside the mirror. Arjun stumbled back, his hands shaking violently. His reflection smiled, though his real lips did not move. The reflection whispered, lips curling into words that made Arjun's blood freeze. "You didn't choose, so I will choose for you." The mirror cracked. Thin lines spread across the glass like veins, and the reflection's smile widened unnaturally. Arjun screamed, but no sound came out. His voice was gone. The silence had already begun its claim. The voice of the mirror, Arjun's scream, echoed only inside his head. His throat moved, but no sound left his lips. It was as if the silence had stolen his very breath, his right to exist in the world of sound. The mirror cracked again. Thin, sharp lines spread wider across the glass until his reflection's face looked like a shattered mask. Yet the reflection smiled, too wide, too cold. Its lips moved, and though Arjun could no longer speak, he heard the words as clear as thunder in his skull. "Your voice belongs to me now." Arjun stumbled back, pressing against the wall. His chest heaved, his lungs burned, but he felt powerless. He wanted to shout, to call his parents, but only silence followed. The reflection tilted its head, mocking him. Then slowly it lifted a hand. Arjun's stomach turned as he realized his reflection was no longer bound to his movements. It moved on its own, independent, alive. It pressed its hand against the cracked glass from the inside. The sound of fingers scraping echoed in the room, though Arjun's ears should have been deafened by silence. Crack. The first shard fell from the mirror onto the floor. A sharp silver piece of glass spun across the wooden boards, shining in the dim light. Arjun's heart raced. He grabbed the desk lamp and raised it like a weapon, though he knew a glowing bulb could not stop what was coming. The reflection's pale hand pushed through the glass. Not broken, not bloody. The hand was whole, solid, stepping out as though the mirror was only a doorway. Arjun's knees shook. He wanted to run, but his legs betrayed him, frozen in terror. The reflection's voice rang again, hollow and sharp. "You refused the choice, so I am the choice. I will walk in your world. You will stay in mine." Its second hand slid free. Then its head. Its body crawled through, each movement cracking the mirror further until the entire surface shook violently. Arjun's breath came fast. He forced himself to move, rushing to the door. But when his trembling fingers turned the lock, the handle refused to move. It was jammed, sealed by some unseen force. Behind him, the reflection laughed. The sound was not his, it was deeper, emptier, the sound of the void itself. "You thought you could close the door," it whispered. "But once silence enters, it never leaves." The figure stepped fully into the room. Its body looked like his, but wrong. Longer limbs, darker eyes, skin too pale. A twisted version of himself, smiling with stolen teeth. Arjun's heart pounded so hard it hurt. He backed away until his shoulders pressed against the wall. He tried to scream again, but silence answered. The double leaned close. "Don't worry. You won't vanish. You will stay. In the mirror. Forever watching." It raised a pale hand, pressing its fingers against Arjun's chest. Cold fire shot through him. His vision blurred and the world around him spun. For a moment he saw not his room, but endless glass corridors. Thousands of mirrors, each holding a face. Some were screaming silently. Some were pounding against the glass. Some were too broken to move at all, and then he understood. This was the trade. This was the truth. He had not escaped the figure by refusing. He had only delayed it. Silence always found a way. His double whispered one last time. "Rest now. The world is mine." Arjun's body collapsed. He fell hard against the floor, gasping as if something had been torn from him. His eyes darted to the mirror. There he was, his true self, trapped behind the cracked glass. His hands pounded against it, desperate, but no sound came. He saw his double standing outside, now free, turning toward the door with a smile. The lock clicked open. The imposter, his reflection, walked out into the hallway, footsteps calm, steady, as if it had always lived there. Inside the mirror, Arjun screamed silently, banging his fists until his knuckles bled. But no one could hear him. No one ever could. The light in the room flickered. Slowly the mirror began to heal, the crack sealing, the surface smoothing until it was whole again. Whole. But now Arjun was on the wrong side. His reflection, no, his replacement, was gone. Arjun pressed his palms against the cold glass. The world beyond looked close enough to touch, but it was already 1,000 miles away. And then from deep inside the glass corridor he heard them, the voices of the others. The forgotten ones, the countless souls who had made the same mistake. They whispered from their own mirrors, their own prisons, their tones full of sorrow, madness, and rage. Another one, they hissed. Another trapped. Arjun's tears blurred his vision. He tried to fight, to push harder, but the glass held firm. Then the child's voice, the same one from the hall, rose beside him. I told you not to choose. Now you're one of us. Arjun turned. There in the glass corridor stood the small boy he had heard earlier. Pale, hollow, eyes empty, his hands pressed against his own mirror prison. Is there no way out? Arjun mouthed, though no sound came. The boy shook his head slowly, then whispered, there is only one way, but it is worse than staying. Arjun's silent breath caught. He wanted to ask, to beg, but the boy vanished into the endless reflections. Alone in the glass, Arjun realized his horror had only begun.